outside Chicago in Romeoville, Illinois, where one more spot in the U.S. Women's Open quarterfinals is up for grabs. Next. Kim Terrell-Kearney earned the first spot in the semifinals with an impressive victory over Deandra Aspady in Week 1. Week 2 saw some international flavor added with a win by Shalin Zulkifli. One more will be added to the list today.
The number 7 seed from Orlando, Florida. She led the USA to team silver medals at the 05 and 07 Women's World Championships. Stefanie Nation. Her opponent, the number 10 seed from Skaneateles, New York, is a 12-time pro titleist and 2002 Player of the Year, Michelle Feldman. In the other quarterfinal matchup, the number 2 seed from Columbus, Ohio, 2007 Dayton Open champion, Trisha Reid. And her opponent, the number 15 qualifier from Canton, Ohio. She has earned more than 20 medals in youth and adult international competition, Jennifer Petrick.
Welcome to the 2008 U.S. Women's Open. Hi, I'm Bo Burton, and we're down to the final 2 groups in the quarterfinals. Now next week, you'll see our premier player, the woman to beat, Carolyn Doran Ballard, will be featured next week. However, this week we have 4 players. None have won the U.S. Open before, but one of the players, Marshall Holman, is the greatest player up to the 2,000-year level, Michelle Feldman, who throws the most powerful ball in all of women's bowling.
I agree with you 100%, Bo. Michelle Feldman has the ability to just make the pins dance, but she'd rather play a deeper inside line. This pattern does not afford her that opportunity, so she's going to have to go with the ball. It'll go a little longer down the lane before making that break. If she does get lined in, she'll run over everybody.
I like that thought, Marshall, and she'll be exciting to watch. Now the third person in our commentary group is Kathy Doran-Lizzie, and we'd like to welcome Kathy in and a new addition to her family.
Thanks, Bo. And yes, Olivia Georgiana is truly my greatest accomplishment. But now let's look back to last week's accomplishment. Shalin Zulkifli and Chris Schlemmer. If they hadn't resurfaced her bowling ball before that match, I'm not so sure she would have advanced. She bowled a good game, but it wasn't a great game. That was the turning point and the big key of the match. Now, if the players today pick up on that tip, and they should, because at this level, it's about ball reaction and knowing your equipment. The player that makes the quickest adjustment and the smartest adjustment is the player that's going to advance.
Today's look at the lanes is sponsored by the new PBA Experience Leagues. Contact your local bowling center to see how you can bowl on the exact lane oil condition used on the PBA Tour.
Now, today's lanes, we're bowling on the cheetah pattern. Now, the length of oil is 36 feet. The surface is synthetic. This condition really does lend itself for a straighter trajectory from the outside from both the right-hand side of the lane and the left-hand side of the lane. We'll see our players throwing the ball with good velocity, keeping it pretty direct down the lane.
The quarterfinals begins on 39 and 40, 41-42 here at Brunswick Zone Lanes. It'll be Stefanie Nation against the power player Michelle Feldman on the left. And on the right-hand lanes, it'll be Petrick against Reid. The first one up, Stefanie Nation. Experience last year, Marshall, she made our quarterfinals.
She's a tough bowler. She does have a lot of experience, Bo, and I like the way that she's set up to play these lanes. I think she's going to be the one who's going to be able to stay out to the right-hand side, go up the boards throughout her 2 games. A great start with a power shot. You know, in talking with our stat man, Bill Ballard, at the opening, he was telling me, he said, that's really going to be the key. Who can stay out the longest? As Jen Petrick bowls her first shot, leaves just the 10 pin, and she looked to be a little bit nervous, not really quite, 100% on her game.
And rightfully so. We talked to her earlier. Now here's the player who has all the experience, the most powerful ball that ever hit women's bowling, Michelle Feldman.
Comes in just a touch high, tough break, 4-9. She shakes her head. She's going, boy, that was a pretty good shot, and I get that for it.
Jen cross lanes with spare ball. Excellent first frame. Got a little break crossing over, but capitalized on an easy spare. 9-2 odds for Michelle Feldman in her opening frame, the 4-9 split.
Got a hook. Well, it'd just be 9 count for Michelle.
Now up is Trisha Reid, who has a little bit of problem with her thumb, and she's been working on it before we went on the air. These ladies bowled for 4 solid days, and she's trying to fix it up and get through today. A pretty good opening shot, Marsh.
Well, just a problem with the 7-pin. It wiggled, but it didn't quite fall over. Shouldn't be any problem as Feldman gets ready to bowl in her second frame. You can just see she's standing there kind of shaking her head a little bit. You know, the confusion in a 1-game match, that's not a good thing.
Well, a 10-pin. At least she's around the pocket the first 2 frames, Marshall, but she really doesn't get to showcase her power from that outside angle as Trisha starts out with another nice spare, a 7-pin. And both the players on the right-hand lanes, 41 and 42, Petrick and Reid, made quarter pins, a good sign.
No problem for Feldman on lane 39 with her spare.
Trisha Reid, who averaged 213, the second highest in all the qualifiers. 186 international players started this tournament. She qualified second with a 213 average, up in the second frame.
High flush, beautiful shot. She looks comfortable out there, but she feels a little more comfortable playing a little bit further to the right, playing more towards the center of the lane, but off to a nice start.
Stefanie Nation up, and Marshall, she told me in the warm-up, she said, I just got a little soft last year in Reno, and it cost me the match against Shannon O'Keefe, although Shannon shot 299, so she's learning from her experience. Now, Jen Petrick just has to get through these first couple of frames. If there was a timeout in bowling, you wouldn't even love to have it on your first telecast in the first or second frame, but hopefully she'll get through it with a couple of marks as Stefanie Nation comes up on the left-hand lane, 39. She's the only one that's perfect so far, two consecutive strikes.
Oh, she kind of double dribbled that ball. Not kind of, she did. Left the 2, 4, and the 5.
Now a tough spare for Petrick, the 3-6-10.
Well, that's got to be good for her psyche. She made a good clean release there. She knows she can throw the ball properly. She just has to let that athletic ability come through.
The 2-4-5. A lot of schools have thought how to make this: throw a backup, throw a straight ball, hook into it. I'm of the school to throw a little backup. Most players do not do that, but the spare ball is the second best choice.
She goes hard and straight, has no problem picking it up.
Jen Petrick up in her third frame. She just wants something good to happen. Give it some room, Jen.
Well, she gave it the room. She kind of double dribbled that, and I double dribbled my voice, leaving the 2, the 4, and the 10. Needs to get the ball left of the 2-pin, can slide it in there. It's a makeable split.
Okay, Michelle Feldman. She's in arrears by 18.
Well, she hasn't made a bad shot yet. She finally gets a little bit of a break, knocking the 9-pin out. Pocket, 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 and she's got open spare strike.
Pretty good try by Jen. She needs a timeout right here. Michelle Feldman needs a double to tighten this match with Stefanie Nation, the 2 most experienced players by far on 39 and 40.
There's no doubt.
Feldman and Nation. One of them could do it all if they can get through this round.
Oh, what a great shot there. That ball actually got about 10 feet from the pocket and then just stopped.
Set up. The Amleto Monticello used to be able to do that.
Good break. Good break, just leaving the 4 and the 7. Went right through the hearts. Easily could have been a big wide open split as Nation gets up on lane 40.
8 pins ahead, spare work.
Better release. You couldn't even hear that ball when it hit the lane. Last time on lane 39, she bounced it in the lane, didn't get the resolution she needed.
Got the true roll that time.
Absolutely, Bo. Hang on. Just makes the spare. Little sigh of relief on that one. Almost chopped that fair off.
Stefanie Nation was the Collegiate Player of the Year in 2006. Made the quarterfinals last year, and obviously has learned quite a lesson. Is bowling terrific so far in the early going.
You know, when you don't hear her ball hit the lane, she strikes.
There's no spare to shoot, right?
There's nothing. There's nothing to do.
All right, let's see how this match on 41 and 42. Both players are back and forth. Nobody's really taking command. Saw ball.
Good speed on that ball. 19.8 miles an hour. That's getting it down there quick.
And from that outside line, you want to keep it thin. Now, Michelle Feldman double working. Key shot for her.
Gotta hurry. Look at that ball drive up the lane. That's Michelle Feldman right there. That's the power.
You know, if she was a train, she'd have to toot when she got to the intersection when that ball's coming down there. All right, Jen Petrick. Let's see if she can get something going.
Well, that's the first time we've seen anybody trip that 4-pin. We've seen a lot of come in a little bit high and leave it, but she was able to get the friendly kick. Head pin goes to the sideboard, and then bang.
The 2 gets a little twist, knocks out the 4. You're correct, Marshall. In 2 weeks, we have not seen anybody do that. Michelle up on the left-hand lane.
Going for 4. And coming in just a little bit light. Didn't quite get it at the bottom of the swing. Didn't get the good revolutions. Leaves the 2 and the 8. And Petrick
see if she
looking
can
for her first double.
Looks pretty good off her hand, Marshall.
That'll get a smile.
And closes that match down to just 7 pins. Reid and Petrick are now into the game. Tough spare for Michelle Feldman, the 2-8 double wood.
Hang on, it's gone. Gosh, that's very frustrating.
You know, Marshall, for years you and I have done this, but in one-game matches, when a player misses a single pin especially, the percentage of losing is almost 90%. And so Michelle Feldman made one of the cardinal sins of one-game match bowling.
Great shot for Reid. Gets that lead back up to 17 pins. That's the way I'm supposed to do it. That's right. She knows she's got game. She just, she's a young lady, but she looks pretty confident.
Be a big strike for here, right? She could extend her lead to 27 pins with another strike.
Hang on, ball. Off her hand, high all the way, guided the ball, didn't roll it.
Well, Marshall, we saw that earlier when she wraps her swing behind her back and then she tries to adjust. See it wrap behind her back and then she gets out and goes over the top of it. That's a classic mistake all bowlers, both amateurs and pros, make.
You can see that she was right of her target.
And
the ball hit the 8.7 board. She's been hitting more toward the 7, and she left herself a tough split to make. She has to fit the ball in between the 2 and the 7, but the ball's got to be rolling to carry out the 8. Something like that. Great shot.
A great shot as Reid converts a very tough split. Let's take a look at some of the former U.S. Open women champions. Brought to you by the United States Bowling Congress, the sport's governing body, growing the sport and protecting the integrity of the game. By Bowl.com, the USBC's official website and bowling's premier online destination. And by the Bowling Foundation, 67 million bowlers contributing through one voice. Thank you, Bowling Foundation. Halfway through the match, Marshall Holman's going to use a little technology to show you how this match has gone so far. Marshall?
Well, you can see the catch comparison. That's the computer-aided tracking system. Stefanie Nation very, very solid, 5'3", 5'1". That 4'6" was the 2.45. Michelle Feldman, she's the power player, not quite as accurate and not having quite the amount of strikes as well. There's a look at slow motion of the two women simultaneously throwing the ball down. Michelle Feldman starting out deeper, throwing it off to the right. Stefanie Nation going up the boards, and that really is the way to play this cheetah pattern. And now let's take it down to Kathy, Dora, and Lizzie.
Well, unfortunately, Jen looked a little uncomfortable. She started with an Ebonite complete envy. I think it made her force the ball. She's got such an effortless game that forcing it took her right out of her zone. She switched to a momentum. She looks 100% better, nice and smooth.
Thank you, Kathy. Now up on the lane 40, the player has been the best so far. Stefanie Nation, 22-pin lead over Michelle Feldman, can extend to 32 pins with a third consecutive strike. 6th frame.
Well, it just looks like if she could pick a place to play in the lane, she'd want to play there, and she is taking advantage of her strengths.
Now, Jen Petrick has put together 2 in a row, can cut the lead down of Trisha's down to just 4 pins with a strike right here.
Beautiful, best shot of the game. And you can see her energy level is up. The confidence is starting to, infiltrate her entire being, and she's feeling good about the way she's bowling right now.
Well, the timeout we talked about, a commercial break can help you or hurt you. It looks like it's helped all 4 of these women. Now, Stefanie Nation, 32-pin lead, can extend to 42. Wow.
Boy, I'm not sure if she has the opportunity to choose what pair she bowls on next game. If she does get through this,
to take the lead on lane 41, Jen Petrick, if she strikes here, she trails by 4, would have a 6-pin lead.
Got a slide. It was left off of her hand. You could see it immediately. She guided that ball down the lane, and now she leaves herself the difficult 3, 4, 6, 7. It can be made as Feldman's up on lane 40. A lot of loft.
Well, there's a good lesson to be learned here, Marshall, and you being a power player, me being down and in. Usually the down and in players score better from outside the second arrow, the power players from deeper inside, and Michelle Feldman has become a victim of that right here as we see Jen Petrick doing the best she can with that split. She's still in the match. As you see, Feldman has to really go to the whip here, make this spare and start throwing some strikes.
She makes the spare, but yeah, she needs to take it out, and she's gonna need some help from Nation.
Okay, Reid working on a spare with a 22-pin lead.
She trusted that one, and she got the great result.
The pin carry here at Brunswick Zone has been phenomenal, Marshall. We've watched it all week long. If you can get the ball to the pocket, and especially the light hit. The solid hits, we've seen some 8 pins, 9 pins, 10 pins, but the light hit has been very dependable.
Just take a listen. Yes, sir.
Up for a double.
Oh, what a great friendly tap of the 7-pin. And she's taking this game and making it very comfortable for herself as Feldman misses the 2-pin, and she's all but resigned herself that she will not be going through.
Jen Petrick, see if she can answer. She's still in the match. 3 big frames left. It's so hard, Marshall, especially from the outside line with that magical gray board, the gutter there, staring you right in the face, to throw the ball out under pressure. It's very psychological, very tough, and it takes a lot of experience, and Stefanie Nation is the one that's proving that. She watched Shannon O'Keefe do that to her last year in Reno, and now she's doing it to somebody else. And she's got all the shots. Possible 277 for Stefanie Nation.
Petrick picks up the spare. It's a must strike right now for Petrick, and then she'll need some assistance. And for Stefanie Nation, she's just having a nice walk in the park, enjoying herself. Great ball reaction.
Stefanie Nation's 3-time Amateur champion.
64 pin lead. That's got to be nice. Let's make it 74.
And a great ball reaction. You know, we saw Shaolin the other last week have that same shot on that same pair, a little more spin, a little more speed, and she went through the qualifying with a great 266 the last game, and Stefanie's doing the same thing. Now Jen with still a chance.
Better shot. Got a good break, collapsed the bucket. Funny things can happen in bowling, so you got to hang in there.
Michelle Feldman, a possible 203, but it's just a little bit of just finishing the game. I'd love to see that strike ball though.
Yeah. .2 miles per hour. That's pretty fast for someone who hooks a ball as much as Michelle does.
Okay.
Huge shot right here. And she got away with it. She turned it early, but I believe her speed was a little bit higher. 19.7 miles an hour.
Michelle
That
Feldman
held the ball in the pocket.
finishing out 74 pins in arrears. She still has a chance for respectable 203 and might get a little break here.
And she's had more than her share of messenger strikes.
But also bad breaks this match. If you look at the early going, she left the 4-9, a 10 pin. You know, in the early going, it's really hard to get behind in a one-game match. Now Reid for a simple spare.
And it looks probable that Reid is going to take this match, and being the higher seeded player, she'll have her choice of what pair to bowl on.
All right, here's the situation for the Petrick-Reid match. If Petrick takes it off the sheet, she has 205. All that Reid needs to do to get more than 205 is get a good count and a spare. So any mark for Trisha Reid will take her in the finals against Stefanie Nation. Key shot, 10th frame, needs a mark.
This is the lane she went on high. Left the split. Great delivery, and just closes the match out with that great shot. Doesn't get all that excited, but you know she's loving it.
All right, we'll be back in a little bit with our finals. It'll be Reid against Nation. Stay tuned for the exciting final match. In the bracket match, the first match, Stefanie Nation bowled the second highest score we've had on the telecast so far this year, at 265, taking down Michelle Feldman. Reid was solid with a 226 game. And Marshall, here's an analyzation of Stefanie Nation's very good performance.
Amazing. And you look at frames 4 through 7, Bo, she hits 5.1 at the arrows, 4 shots in a row. As the game progressed, like the great Dick Weber, amped the speed up a little bit and a little straighter. Now you can see that Dell is doing the same thing that we saw last week. He's scuffing up the ball just a little bit, taking a little bit of surface off of it. Stefanie's going to be bowling on a different pair of lanes. She needs to get the ball to roll a little earlier, and that should really help her out. First up,
Left-hand lane, final match. One of these players will be in the finals in 2 weeks. Stefanie Nation, first shot. Boy, and Del Ballard did his job. As we look at the keys to success, are sponsored by the USBC Coaching. Located a coach in your area by logging on to coachfeatureofbowl.com, and you will find a key to success as we watch Reid with her first shot.
And she leaves the dinner bucket.
And once again, back to our COO of the PBA, Tom Clark.
We can see the keys to success. For Stefanie, it's going to be adjusting to the different pair, and Trisha wants to get off to a good start, and right now, Bo, she did not get off to a good start. And I'd also like to welcome Tom Clark to the booth. Great to have you with us.
Thank you very much. It's an honor. Let's make this.
Well, she chops the 5 off. Very difficult. That's got to give Stefanie a little boost of confidence as she's bowling on a new pair.
It's an honor to be here with both of you guys, particularly the PBA Tour. It's coming into its 50th anniversary season, and we named the 50 greatest players in the history of the PBA, and obviously you two are at the top of the list.
Well, thank you. All right, let's see if Reid can bounce back from that open frame.
And she leaves the 3 and the 10. Ball coming in light again. Let's take it down to Kathy, Dora, and Lizzie. She's got a report for us.
Well, the first game, Trisha was throwing her vapor zone. That first ball there in the first frame, she threw a Twisted Fury, which goes longer. Now she switched back to the vapor zone. She went light both times, so I think she's better off staying with the vapor zone, which is the ball she has now.
Thank you, Kathy, for that report. Now the split, the 310. Great shot.
And you'd think that Reid would have the definite advantage going into this match. She just bowled on this pair, bowled a 220 game. Beautiful split conversion, but she opens in the first frame. She picks up a split in the second, and right now, Nation has the opportunity to strike second frame, take a 21-pin early lead. And she looks to be unflappable. Same thing that she did in the third frame of the last game. As we take a look at Stefanie's father. She actually double dribbles this ball. You can see it as she releases it. Instead of getting it clean off her hand, to bang, and it doesn't pick up the roll. It comes in light.
But the value of a straight arm swing, Marshall, she kept it in play, has a relatively easy spare, and she had this spare in the first game when she double dribbled, and great technique, a little cut shot with a spare ball right into the 2-4.
Hard and straight.
To three.
You know, it looks like halfway down the lane it's going to chop off, but it hangs in there. Stefanie's father approves of that. Well, I think he looks a little more nervous than Stefanie does right now, and rightfully so. He's just up there hoping she's going to do well, and she's down there knowing she can do well.
Tom Clark, we saw Stefanie last year. She was the victim of Shannon O'Keefe's 299 game, and one of the things I talked to her about is what she learned from watching Shannon last year, and she's putting it to the test.
One of those fresh faces in the women's bowling scene.
She will be on your PBA tour this year with the women's series.
Yes, it's really exciting. There's two big stories related to the women's series this year. First of all, it's the tour, bringing back women's bowling on tour for the first time in about 4 years since the tour went down. Last year we brought it back for 4 weeks, running concurrently with the PBA. This year it's growing to 7 weeks, which is a great story. The second great part of it are these fresh faces.
And these women bowl surprisingly well. I think as I've traveled around the country, everybody was shocked how well they bowl. The PBA series is 20 weeks, and here's the ones the women's will be bowling in, and they were very highly rated last year, Tom. And once again, you've added 3 more stops. And
3 more stops, including a mixed doubles event where they're going to bowl with the PBA exempt players in a mixed doubles event.
You know, I think I'll stop by and check out that tournament in Medford, Oregon.
That is Marshall's home.
You know, when I talk about the fresh faces like Trisha and Stefanie, the people that come to mind as the top players in women's bowling, like Kelly Kulick, Wendy McPherson, Linda Barnes, Liz Johnson, it's shocking really that none of them qualified for the women's series this year or the women's open, these 16. So that tells you how deep the field is, and it tells you the growth of women's bowling, particularly in the collegiate ranks.
I agree. Look out. She's using a hook and ball on her spare. Pretty good move, Marshall.
Now she's having lots of trouble right now. Her father is watching, and he's certainly concerned. Tony's thinking, boy, Trisha, you were bowling so well last game, and you know.
My question, Marshall, why would you change balls? You just whacked them with 227. Lanes don't change that much, do they?
Well, no, I don't think so. I don't think I would have made that change, but you know, she may have been talked to into by her ball rep, or it just might have been a decision that she wanted to go with.
Well, let's see if she can adjust. She's trailing by 12. Not getting the finish we saw earlier in the last match, and we'll see what she does.
Every ball she's thrown this game has come in light.
Actually, watch, there would be the 3, 5, 6 standing. She gets a good break, and the 3 goes out and collapses into the 5. The spin, a very simple spare. Now, Tom, when do you kick off your PBA series on ESPN? It's near October?
At the end of October. Actually, the tour will kick off. this year with a celebrity event involving Chris Paul, the basketball player, and other NBA greats teaming up with PBA players. That'll kick off the season at the end of October, and then the first event of the PBA Tour season is the World Championship in Wichita. And so kicking off the year with a major will be exciting, and we'll get to know, all the new players on the exempt tour, and of course all the favorites that you guys are familiar with still that are hanging around, like Walter and Pete Weber and Norm Duke and Parker Bone. They're not going anywhere.
Yep, it's great players. Now, Stefanie Nation, fourth frame, has a 13-pin lead.
Roll.
Wow, does she look good.
It's uncanny when she gets out of the ball smooth, it just gets to the pocket.
Marshall, I interviewed her earlier when they were practicing the thing, and I said, did you watch what everybody did the first week of this championship round, the second week? She says, I watched none of it. She says, I want to read my own ball. I'm coming in here. I want no preconceived ideas, and what a great choice as she is just whacking them.
That's great. I would have been completely opposite. I always like to get as much feedback as I can watching other people's equipment roll down the lane, but Nation knows what she's doing. If she can get out of the ball smooth, it gets to the pocket, and it generally strikes.
All right, she extends to 23-pin lead, and Tom Clark, the USBC is deeply involved in all of these tournaments, and how does that all tie together?
Well, it's really special that the USBC recognized the need to bring greater exposure to women's bowling, and by bringing back this Women's Open and holding the women's tour trials concurrently with the U.S. Open to get these women not only on TV 5 weeks ago, but then the 7 weeks during the PBA Tour season. Everybody's getting a chance to find out that women's bowling's strong, that collegiate bowling is available. These women get college scholarships. The coaching is stronger than ever, and it really shows.
Good shot.
All right, sixth frame, Trish Reid trails by 23 with a strike here. She'd cut it to 13th. 13 pins. We're halfway through the game. Key shot.
Got a hole.
Great break. 13-pin difference. As you see the 3-pin go to the sideboard, do some damage on the 6, Mark.
It is a great break. The speed was just enough to hold the ball in the pocket. She trips out the 6 and the 10. She's got the great reaction. Says, yeah, that's the way to do it. Hey, we'd like to thank Tom Clark for dropping by the booth. Good luck to you next year in the PBA Tour, and let's take a look at some of the past great champions of this U.S. Women's Open.
Bowling, Jeff Boget, the USBC president, a former neighbor of mine, and Kevin Dornberger, the USBC COO, here enjoying the action as we go down to Kathy, Dorn, Lizzie for a report.
Well, right before we went to commercial break, Trisha Reid switched balls again. She went to a radical, an earlier rolling ball. You could see it came into the pocket. What's great about Trisha, she has excellent ball speed. She could actually throw a more aggressive ball longer than other girls because of that speed.
Thank you, Kathy. And she'll need it all against Stefanie Nation, who has just been outstanding, Marshall, so far in the early going.
She sure has. Now, she's moved out a little bit from when she was playing 39 and 40 around the 5th board. She's moved to where she's laying the ball down at about the 4 board. Just that slight adjustment, but it just means everything.
You know what? In the experience she is showing, this happened twice. When you come out of a commercial break or a delay, more often than not, Marshall, you can watch it on the PBA Tour, the old ABC Tour we used to do, a person will go high. They're sitting there a little bit.
Yeah, you lose that speed. As we take a look at the Cats comparison, last match, 5-3, 5-1, 4-6, 5-1, 5-1. You can see around the 4th board, that second shot, she double dribbled, 3.5, and then right around the 4. So she's made the proper adjustment, and she looks great. And coming out of commercial, she makes a great shot. You're right.
Reading the lanes at this level, or any level, if you want to have consistent bowling, is the #1 thing of all the things involved in the sport to score.
That's got to hurry. Leaves just the 10-pin. That one got out another board wider. That was at 3.1 at the arrows. The shot before on that lane was at 4.4. So The ball did track back into the pocket, but it left the 10-pin. She'll switch to a harder spare ball. Just throw it nice and straight.
She
Shouldn't
must
be a
have
problem.
practiced this shot 10 or 12 times before we went on the air. Just the 10-pin, realizing that that was probably the key pin for her. Right now, it's important to make this, to say, ahead in the match.
And she takes care of it at both. So, you know, it's like when you watch professional golfers getting ready. They practice 3-foot putts, and you know it seems like they should make it automatically. But the reason they make them automatically is because they practice it. Same thing with these women and their spares.
Good point. This is Trish Reid's first major tournament, and she is accounting herself very well. Trails by 22, can cut it to 12. Sawball.
Look at that power. They're pretty nonchalant about it, too. This ball comes off her hand very smoothly. Look how it makes that right hand turn. Watch the 5-pin dance.
And as we said earlier, here at Brunswick Zone Lanes, the light hit has been the most dependable, and that's where she's staying. Right now, she can cut this lead down to a very simple 2 pins.
That's the best break of the tournament right there. There was the bucket that just collapsed, and I'll tell you what, her father was going, yeah, that's my girl. Watch these pins. Watch the bucket on the right-hand side. It's there, and then it just gets collapsed. What a great break. She knows it. She stole one.
Let's see how Stefanie Nation reacts to that. You know, psychologically, sometimes when your opponent gets a terrific break at a key time, it has an effect on your game. Let's see if she can put that in the back of her mind and just keep making good shots. Here we go, 8th frame, just 2 pins difference.
Come on, ball, roll.
Same straight shot.
We asked Stefanie if she enjoyed bowling on the PBA Women's Series.
You know, bowling with the women that I looked up to growing up, being able to compete with them, it was just an awesome experience, you know, and just to get pointers from them and to, you know, talk to them. Just any bit of information they could do to help is always good.
All right, Stefanie Nation now up in the 9th frame, has an opportunity to keep this match in her hand. She leads by 2 pins. If they both strike out, she wins. She needs to get this strike right here to keep the pressure on young Reid. Gets the 10-pin out.
She was a little light on that lane left, the 10-pin the frame before. It looks like she softened up, Marshall, and really didn't get the break that she needed.
Well, it's kind of it's a contemporary kind of a shot where it looks like all you're worried about is will the 10-pin fall. The 10-pin does, but the 7-pin just stands there and looks at you. She'll take it.
This match is going right to the 10th frame, and we have not had a tie in this year's U.S. Women's Open. We have a great possibility of a tie in this match.
Certainly.
And that would precipitate a 1-ball roll-off. Kathy Doran-Lizzie has a report on Trisha.
Well, she was smart. She went and made the ball change to a more aggressive ball. Like I said, she's got excellent ball speed. Most of the girls are balling themselves down. What I mean by that is going to a ball that'll give them more length and flip. She did the opposite. She went to an earlier rolling ball. Smart move.
This is the first time she can have the lead in the match if she strikes. She's not leading.
Great shot. Just perfection on lane 42 for Trisha Reid.
Now here's the situation in this match. If Trisha Reid strikes on the next ball, she will basically slam the door on Stefanie Nation. If she does not, Nation will determine her own destiny in the 10th frame. Here we go. Still a possibility of a tie.
Needs to relax herself and just make that same good delivery. Oh my!
That's lockjaws, Marshall.
Trisha Reid. And a great reaction too.
Stefanie Nation with her master's degree in interpersonal communication. You could read her eyes. She was using some of that degree. She knew that was a stab in the heart with her run at the U.S. Open.
Nation bowled a great game.
Oh, she was by far one of the best players we've had so far, but Reid was up to the task. Be in the 240s.
That's just great. She threw that ball, got the strike, and looked right in her dad's eyes and went, yeah.
What a thrill for her father.
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
Trisha Reid is going to advance to the Final Four, which we will have on ESPN TV in 2 weeks. Only one woman can win. .247, what a performance. I'm sorry, 245.
And you know, this is 2 years in a row that Nation has just come up against a competitor that has just bowled superbly.
Yes, Stefanie Nation has done quite well, and both times she has not made it to the Final Four. But
and it was really a matter of carry. That shot that Nation threw in the 9th frame when she left the 10 pin really could have easily struck. Now she's just finishing out the string, leaves a 7 pin on lane 42, and you know, you've got to give her a lot of credit for making great shots, but 2 years in a row coming up just that short.
I'll show you how competitive this match was. The first match, Stefanie Nation shoots .265, only one ball out of the pocket. She'll be in the 2 teens with a spare here, only one ball out of the pocket. She'll average close to .240 or maybe a little above that for 2 games, and yet her opponent averaging just a minor .235, which is pretty good, but it's still match game competition. And she just drew the wrong player at the wrong time, but she's got to feel good about her performance, but her banker will not like it as well as Trisha Reid's will.
Yeah, I'm surprised, and I applaud Trisha Reid for knowing her game and making a ball change that maybe didn't make sense to me, but certainly made more than sense to her.
Good performance. Good performance.
Stephanie. Great job.
Stefanie Nation, 217, Reid, 245. There we go. Look at all the strikes. The action has picked up here at the Women's U.S. Open in week 3.